Yeah, hello and welcome once again to this channel where we provide to you Oracle related content for your personal and professional development. And if you continue to like content like this, please subscribe to our channel, like our video, enable notifications, and share. This is the continuation of a two-part series we started on our process or how we are going about upgrading our 12C database to 19C. In the first part of the video of this series, we went ahead and downloaded the 19C software and installed that on our server. The second part of this video, therefore, would be actually upgrading that 12C database to 19C. So for that, we just want to make sure that we have our 12C database up and running. I have a session here as Oracle. So who am I? I am Oracle. So I'm going to set my environmental variables .aura-env on my primary DB. That's the name of the database we are upgrading. And I would log in as SQL Plus as sysdba. sysdba. All right, in an idle instance, so I have to start up my database. So when the database starts, we would certainly check a few things out and then proceed to our installation. So currently our Oracle home is our 12C home and our target home is our 19C home. Our database name is PrimDB if you've been following the previous videos. And while our database is open, let's perform a few checks. So we're going to check the status of our database. And we're going to check the status of our instance here. So here we see that primary DB, the version is 12.201, and this is our server, primserve.local domain. So when we are performing database upgrades, there always has to be a fallback plan, a backup plan in the event that maybe our upgrade doesn't succeed. And in this case, in order to make sure that we have a point of failure, we protect ourselves from not being able to recover. We want to make sure that our database uses either a guarantee restore point or an existing backup. But if you've been following the videos, remember we are still running our database in no archive log. So if I type archive log list, our database is still in no archive log. So what method of restoration I would choose when I launch my database upgrade assistant would be to perform an offline full backup. Rather than a guarantee restore point, because the guarantee restore point would need for me to enable archive log mode. All right, so let's keep going with our checks. I would check for invalid objects. So you want to make sure that always before an upgrade, objects, especially those that belong to sys, are all valid. So let's go ahead, and this is just the formatting. So if you were using something like SQL Developer, you wouldn't need to format your columns. But because we're using the command line SQL Plus, we need to format the columns so that at least the output becomes in a user-friendly, way we can interpret. So here we go. So this is exactly what I want to see. So I don't want to see any invalid objects. So no row selected means I don't have any invalid objects. Now, in the event that you have an invalid object, you want to make sure that you run that recompile script. And the recompile script is located in the Oracle home, the RDBMS folder, admin, and the script itself, its name is the utlrp.sql. And if you log on to your SQL Plus, this is exactly how you would run this. So at Oracle home, RDBMS admin utlrp.sql. When you run that to check and validate and recompile those invalid objects, you may want to run this same SQL that we just did right here to make sure that you have no rows that are returned. The next part of our preparation for upgrade would be to check the registry components. Now remember, upgrade is about the registry components. We're upgrading the components that are managing this database. So let's go ahead and check our registry components. Again, I'm just going to start up with the formatting. I will start with the formatting, colon version. Let's do that. And then I would status, that column has to be formatted as well. Set pages. All right, and now let's make sure we run a query to see what components we have and different versions of those components. So we have 15 rows that have been selected. Now, the only one that's invalid of is our real application clusters. And we, of course, know that we're not running a RAG database at this point. One of the things that I want us to pay attention here as we look at this is Apex. Currently on this list, we don't have Apex. But Apex is not typically upgraded as part of component upgrades in DBUA. So if you have applications at the back end that are running Apex, you may want to manually upgrade that before you run your upgrade. Otherwise, you may want to remove that. There is an Oracle documentation that kind of clearly shows how you can remove Apex prior to upgrading your database. All right, now that we have come up to this point, let's make sure that we gather statistics. We want to gather dictionary statistics as well as fixed statistics on fixed objects. So this shouldn't take, this is a small database, this shouldn't take too long. And once that is done, I'm just going to highlight this and copy and execute when this is done. All right, that's successfully completed. Let's gather statistics on fixed objects. And for materialized views, and I know this is really kind of common within systems that do a lot of analytical processing, a lot of reporting. So if you have jobs or materialized view refreshes, you want to make sure that those refreshes are done or are completed before your upgrade begins. So we're going to double check here to make sure. And I mean, certainly we don't have any materialized views right now, but you always want to integrate that as part of your process. Make sure that you verify materialized view refreshes are completed before your upgrade. All right, so fixed statistics gathered successfully. Let's check for the materialized views like we mentioned. No row selected, that's exactly what we wanted to see. We have to purge our recycle bin. Now, if you don't do this at this point, this is something that will get reported when you run the pre-upgrade jar as part of the fix-up steps that you need to execute. All right, now I think we're done at the level of SQL for this moment. Let's exit SQL. And because we are moving from 12C to 19C, as part of that upgrade, our listener is also going to be migrated to 12C. So we want to make sure that the listener is up and running. And for that, of course, we want to use the LSNRCTL. Let's first of all see the status of our listener. So each time you see the connection refused, the listener is not up and running. So let's go ahead and start that. Start listener. All right, so our listener is now started. And if you want to confirm that, of course, you can do listener status. You're going to see. It currently says it supports no services. If we give it a few minutes, or not necessarily minutes, a few seconds, I think if we go ahead and support a few seconds, it should be able to identify the services that it is currently supporting. Currently, it supports our primary DB database. All right. So one important aspect of the upgrade process is also to make sure that we run what we call the pre-upgrade jar. This is a tool that goes into the database and takes a look at the database and kind of comes up with suggestions, right? If you want suggestions that or things that you need to perform pre-upgrade and post upgrade. So what we call fixed subscripts, right? So let's make sure, because we already have our environment sourced to primary DB, let's go ahead and I'll just make sure I dot aura env again, just to make sure we are all on the same page. Let's do a dot aura env. We are sourced to primary DB, and our pre-upgrade jar follows this. So we are running the pre-upgrade jar from the 12C home, looking at our 19C home. So let's go ahead and run that. And after a little wait, we're going to have a pre-upgrade summary, as you can see on this side. And that pre-upgrade summary is going to give us what we call our fixed subscripts and our post-upgrade scripts. So terminal output gives us, these are the pre-upgrade fixed subscripts. And what it tells us to do with, before the upgrade, you have to log into the database and execute the fixed subscripts, right? So we are going to go back into our primary DB database and execute that command. So let's go ahead and do that. So SQL plus, and of course, we're connecting a sysdba. While in that database at the command prompt, we want to make sure that at the SQL prompt, we want to make sure that we call up the pre-upgrade fix ups. This is exactly what the same thing we are going to do after the upgrade. After the upgrade, when everything has been successful, we're going to run the post-upgrade fix up scripts as the last part of our upgrade. Hopefully everything goes up successfully. This should take not too long. All right. So it gives us some actions here that we need to do, right? Pre-upgrade action, table spaces info. Now it tells you maybe it's for information only. Sometimes it tells you it's a warning. Sometimes it tells you it's critical. Sometimes it tells you you need to make that change before your upgrade. Now, also, I wanted to make sure that I make this point clear, right? When in the process of upgrading your database, once we launch DBUA, there is also going to be a verification process, right? Like what we just had right now, where if there are any issues that need to be fixed, we can have fix up scripts that do that, or we do that manually as well. All right, so pre-upgrade fix ups are completed. So we're going to source our environments right now and begin our upgrade. So in order to set the environments, remember we're running DBUA. If I type which DBUA at this point, if I say which DBUA, because our environment is currently sourced to a 12C database, the DBUA that is currently being sourced, it's from our 12C home. Now, if we are upgrading to 19C, then we want to run the DBUA from the 19C home. So we'll have to set some environmental variables here and make sure that we call up DBUA from the 19C home. So the first part of it will be to export our Oracle home. And we are exporting our Oracle home. Something, maybe I should type this for those who are trying to follow me. Export Oracle home to our new 19C home, U01 app Oracle. All right, let's see, U01 app Oracle product 19.0.0 GB home _1. So once we export that, and then I would just, in order to confirm that, I would echo the value of Oracle home, $Oracle home, and it gives me U01 app 19C. Now I would set the value, the variable path. In addition to what is currently running, I would add the Oracle home bin location to the currently running path location. So let's do that. And then just to confirm again, I would echo the value of path just to make sure that I have my current Oracle home 19C bin currently here. So that is good. Hopefully, let me see which, let me call up which DBUA. And it tells me the DBUA I would currently run right now, run from the 19C home. So The last thing I want to do is I want to export the LD library path. After that is done, I should feel comfortable calling up my DBUA. So at this point, I would just call it up using DBUA, because remember I said if I launch DBUA, which DBUA is it going to call up for me? It calls up the DBUA from the 19C home. So I feel comfortable launching DBUA, and after a short pause, we should have a graphical utility pop up where we're going to go through maybe 8 or 9 steps, and we should be good. So here we go. Step 1 would be, of course, selecting a database. Currently, we have just one database up. But if you had multiple databases, of course, those are going to get listed here, and you would choose which one. Make sure to choose the right database. SYS and the credentials for SYS, of course, is Oracle. And let's go ahead and do that. And then we wait. Remember, I mentioned that DBUA would also perform some prerequisite checks for you. So that is done. Hopefully, we don't have too many things to fix up. All right, so we don't have anything to fix up actually. We only have post-upgrade recommendations, right? Dictionary stats and fixed object stats. So we don't have anything to fix up, so we are good to go. I usually like to enable parallel upgrade. I usually like to have DBUA recompiling valid objects after upgrade, and certainly I want to upgrade the time zone as well. I don't have any specific SQL scripts that I need to run before or after upgrade. I mean, I could choose to add, if you want, you could choose to add the post-upgrade fix-up scripts here, but I would run that manually. Now, this is the part where I said, because our database is not running in archive lock mode, we are not going to be able to use a guaranteed restore point. Because what guaranteed restore points do is start capturing flashback logs, and you need to be in archive lock mode for that to happen. But what I would do is I would take, again, without archive logs, you cannot actually take kind of an online backup, right? So you only have the ability to take and when we talk about backup and recovery, when we talk about those strategies, what you can and cannot do in archive and no archive log, hopefully when we get a video on that, I should be able to explain a little more. But for now, we're running a no archive log, so we cannot take an online backup, a full online backup. We are only going to be able to take an offline backup. So I would choose to create a new offline backup, and I use that as my point of failure in the event that my upgrade has to fail and I have to restore back to current status. All right, the listener is up and running. Now you want to make sure here that the status is up and it's ready to migrate. Yes. But sometimes, you might have other databases maybe that would be depending on the 12C listener at home. You could uncheck this and create your own listener for the new 19C home if you wanted to. But because this is the only database I have on this server and I'm moving it over to 19, well, I would choose to migrate that listener along with it. I would not configure Enterprise Manager Express at this time. Again, there are going to be future videos where we shall configure Oracle Enterprise Manager itself, the whole architecture, the Oracle Management Server, the Oracle Management Repository, and we would configure targets to be monitored on those. So I would choose not to do that at this time. And if you look at our summary, our source database, PrimeDB, Oracle, the home is 12.2. Target database, PrimeDB, still same name, but now it's going to 19. And then the pre-upgrade checks was done, some initialization parameters good, and the options that we chose. And after we reviewing all of this and everything looks okay, I will go ahead and hit finish. And certainly our upgrade is going to start. Now, I just want to make sure that you kind of have a time perspective with me. If you like to monitor what's going on, you could look at the progress log. And the progress log can also be, you could tail this log if you wanted to, open up another terminal you can seed it to this location, and then you can tell, the trace logs, as well as, everything that's happening inside that upgrade. Now, in the interest of time, I don't want the video to become too long. This upgrade process, sometimes it takes, in my experience, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how many components it's going to upgrade. So I don't want us to be watching the screen for that. I would pause the video and I would return when we are completed with the upgrade. But at this time, the upgrade would go step by step and start, it's going to spend a lot of time with the components. It's also going to spend a lot of time when we get to upgrading the time zone. So maybe in about 20 minutes, I would, resume the video so that we see how far we've gone and continue with our next steps. All right, guys, I think we finally got to the end of our database upgrade. And let's take a look at the summary. Usually when when the upgrade finishes, you would get a summary. I anticipated before the upgrade, we were going to take about 20 to 30 minutes, but this kind of actually took a little bit more than that. On the report, the upgrade results, it tells you exactly that the source DB has now become the target DB. So source DB was at 12, target DB is at 19. Old Oracle home, 12 home, new Oracle home, 19 home. And these are the upgrade results. And this, you want to make sure that you see successful on all the different aspects of the upgrade steps. And these are the different times it took on these different steps. So I think if you take a look at this, one of the longest was it spent a lot of time doing the database component upgrades. We mentioned that, right? Because the database component upgrades is basically, the components is basically what governs the database. So it has to spend some time on that. I did also mention that it was going to take some time on the time zone, but actually it took about 2 minutes. So that's kind of interesting. Recompiling invalid objects post-upgrade took about 4 minutes. So in a nutshell, that process took about 42 minutes and 48 seconds. So we are good. So now we would close out of this, go back into our database, and kind of ascertain the state of our newly upgraded database. So usually one thing I didn't mention the ORATAP file. So if we view the contents of our ORATAP file, etc ORATAP, we would now see that the entry for etc ORATAP has moved from 12 to 19. So that gives us the ability to source our environment and then make sure we get the database in the right environment. So primdb, let's go. All right, SQL plus as sysdba. So once you log into this, now you're seeing that you're logging your SQL plus version, which used to be 12. I'm sure if we go all the way up here, remember when we had to go in and run. Okay, so this is maybe when we started the process today. Our SQL plus session was 12.2. Right now, when we connect our sysdba, what we are seeing right now is 19.3. I said 19.3 was a base version. So this is already a good indication that we're already running on our 19C software now. As part of our verification process, let's do some formatting here, and then we see what our version is at this time. Select instance name, host name, version from our $V instance view, and now our version is 19. The postfix subscripts, let's do that. I'm just going to follow the sequence here. So let's run the postfix subscripts, and then we shall check the component versions and make sure that everything was upgraded successfully to 19, and making sure that all the components are valid. So postfix subscripts runs a few procedures. This maybe hopefully shouldn't take too long. Hopefully this should not take too long. We're going to check for invalid objects. Even though our upgrade summary told us that, it spent 4 minutes recompiling, we still want to make sure that we check to see if we have any invalid objects. If we do, we recompile again. This is taking some time, which is okay. Let's give it some time. And all right, finally that one finished successfully. So let's take a look here and make sure that we check for invalid objects. Again, our formatting. All right, let's double check to see if we have any invalid objects. Hopefully not. All right, no row selected. So that looks good. Now let's verify our registry components then. All right, let's take a look at the registry components. And if all of these are looking good. All right, so, well, guys, so this is confirmation here that our registry components are all on version 19. Now, if you want to compare this with what we had before, when we checked our registry components, prior to upgrade, we had them running on 12.2, and there are 15 rows. And let's take a look at the registry components right now. We still have 15 rows, and all are running now on version 19C. So we are at the end of our database upgrade, second part. And if you like the video, please click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and enable your notifications so that you can stay informed of when we are releasing new content. Thank you very much.